We've just wrapped up 2021 and the hype is already building for the 2022 season. You've seen the new car prototype, you've heard the off-track rumors, but what's really in store for the 2022 season? Will rules enforcement via a certain race director change during the races? What will happen with the Max Verstappen-Lewis Hamilton rivalry? And what's going to happen to those teams that couldn't quite cut the mustard last year? Will they finally get their breakout and get their chance? Welcome to Formula Whiplash, where we talk all things Formula One, and in this episode, we'll be talking about what can we expect out of the 2022 season. At first glance, the 2022 prototype car doesn't look all that drastically different from the 2021 car, with the exception of that rear wing. However, the technology behind it and why it's important is expected to drastically change how the driver's field is going to look next year. A problem that plagued F1 in recent years is the dirty air behind the cars. It's turbulent air that follows directly behind the car, making overtaking difficult. The rear wing of the new car will mitigate this dirty air problem by pushing it high into the air instead of directly behind it. So cars will be able to race much closer together and for longer periods of time, at least in theory. The next big change are the new 18-inch wheel rims and low-profile tires, a major change from the previous 13-inch rims, larger, heavier, and with a smaller sidewall than we've seen in recent years. These tires will affect how quickly and how tightly the cars will move through the corners. Gone are the days of wobbling rubber balloons. Big asterisk here. Even though these new tires and new wheels are expected to be slower than last year's, the engineers at these teams are adept at squeezing every ounce of speed out of these cars, so I don't think they're going to be losing anything. I think they'll be just as fast as the previous years. They'll find a way to make it up. 2022 marks a hallmark year for this new car style, and many teams are betting on it, giving their drivers a much better chance for finishing higher than they've done so in the past. Take Haas, for example. They made almost zero upgrades for their 2021 car just to be able to compete this year. And I can tell you personally, after seeing Haas on the track, they had no business being in Formula One. They were almost a safety hazard. They're more like an oversized F4 car. Or like the guy that spends money on all the sports gear then shows up at practice, but he can't run or catch, but he's got cleats and a jersey. He's got like the new Gucci stuff, but like he can't play at all. With the new car changes coming for 2022, they're expected to favor driver skill over car technology, meaning a lot of those teams last year that didn't do so hot are expecting, and they've got their fingers crossed, that they'll be able to break into another tier this year. Expect to hear names that you're not used to hearing finishing a little higher, maybe not consistently, but occasionally throughout the 2022 season. I'm just saying we should expect to hear names that we're not used to hearing finishing in the top 10 at the end of a race this year. We're talking names like Latifi, Mazepin, Giovinazzi, Albon. Maybe it's more likely that the top drivers will just get even better and will occasionally battle it out with some random lower tier driver. After all, the top drivers are there for a reason. Obviously Max and Lewis, but Russell and Perez could be battling it out as well. Never thought I'd say that. And let's not count out both AlphaTauri drivers and Alpine drivers. Tsunoda finally came to his own by the end of 2021. And Gasly had a record year even without a win. And given the driver-focused racing this coming season, even Alfa Romeo could be holding their own. Definitely Valtteri. His new teammate, though, is a video for another time. There was another team I seem to recall with a green livery. Schmarten? I'm sure Williams will do just fine as well. Or are we calling them Doralton? I don't know. What do we call them now? It's still Williams. Yeah. As we go into 2022, we can't leave out rules and rules enforcement, because during the 2021 championship race and championship lap for that matter, it was as spectacular as it was controversial. And the controversy didn't start with that race. It's been going on all season long. The all-out, on-the-limit driving by Max and Lewis gave us a battle for the ages. What was fair, aggressive driving, what wasn't? Were Red Bull and Mercedes bending the rules, straight up breaking them? They were both chomping at the bit to give each other any sort of penalty possible. As for the drivers, at the beginning of the season, Max and Lewis were aggressive, clean-ish, wheel to wheel, but as the season wore on, the tempers flared. Many say the wreck at Silverstone with Max in the hospital and Lewis's over-the-top celebrations changed it all. And let's not forget their teammates. Valtteri's red flag causing lap 1, turn 1 accident in Hungary in the wet cost Max and Red Bull quite a bit of points. Lewis's aggressive moves put Perez into the pit lane in Turkey. Max pushing Lewis wide in Brazil, just to name a few. There's quite a few others. And 2021's rulebook was challenged just as much as the drivers were. Considering Formula One history, it is relatively new that we can hear conversations between team principals and the race director, let alone the drivers and the teams themselves. We can thank Liberty Media for all of that. But with it comes an all-new access for the fans, knowing, at least partially, how the rules are being enforced. With this type of access, we, the fans, now partially know how rules are being enforced on the track live as we're watching it. And when it came down to the final race, race director Michael Masi himself had to make a split-second decision in the final laps of the final race at Abu Dhabi for the championship. Clear Latifi's Williams car, ensure the track is safe, honor prior team agreements that the race can't end on a safety car, and clear out as many back markers as possible with the limited track space remaining on the second to last lap, which is why only some of the lapped cars, the ones in front, cleared out of the way so the leaders could race, all just in the nick of time, culminating in a Max Verstappen World Championship win, a major victory for Max Verstappen and Red Bull, and a crushing defeat for Lewis and Mercedes. Can and should a race director play this involved of a role during an actual race? Currently, the ability for team principals to directly contact the race director has been nullified. Team principals can address concerns during a race, but they just have to go through someone else before it goes to the race director. Which makes sense, as race directors have a lot of power and have to make these live decisions during a race. The last thing you want in any sport is for an official or an officiating crew to determine the outcome of a game on a single play, on a single incident. However, it does happen sometimes. So going into the 2022 season, barring any retirement decision from Lewis Hamilton, that's not happening, I think the Max and Lewis rivalry going into Bahrain will be just as heated as it was at the end of the 2021 Abu Dhabi Championship race. Lewis, and Mercedes for that matter, feel robbed, and they have a major axe to grind. Lewis wants his record-breaking 8th championship win. Max wants to win with Red Bull for, well, forever. Expect to see turn 1 of lap 1 of race 1 to be contentious. It's Red Sox versus Yankees, Snake Eyes versus Storm Shadow, Apple versus Microsoft, Ken versus Ryu, Elon versus the world. So yeah, I'd say we're in for an exciting season. This is one of my first videos to be released, so after you like and subscribe, let me know in the comments section, which team do you expect to make the biggest leap up the power ladder in 2022? And thanks for watching my video. Also, let me know if Juan Yuzo deserves to be in Formula One, which he doesn't.